Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, and it never ends. This is episode number 432 million, I think. I've been doing this since I was about 8. But there's lots and lots to talk about every week. If you look at the news, it drives you mad. I look at the news and say, how can I take the mickey out of this? How can I make people laugh? And sometimes you don't have to make it funny at all. You've just got to go on and read what the news says. Let's look at Ofcom. Now, Ofcom I've been dealing with Ofcom because I've had to change the radio licence of my boat. Anything to do with communications or television or radio, Ofcom. I'd like to see who they are, what they look like. Why are they Ofcom? Are they some form of experts? But Ofcom says that Laurence Fox, you know Laurence Fox? Here he is. Yeah, well, his comments on the Dan Wharton show, did I say comments? His comments, it's very posh. He made some terrible comments on Dan Wharton's GB News show. Now, I've got to tell you, I like Dan Wharton. I don't know Laurence Fox. I think what Laurence Fox says is slightly different to what Dan Wharton would say. They'd say it in a different way, wouldn't they? And I'm not stating the obvious, but I remember I asked a producer years ago if I could say the F word on a 9:30 television comedy show. And they said, no, Jim Davidson cannot say that. And one of my mates said, yeah, but Billy Connolly does. And he said, a Jim Davidson fuck is different to a Billy Connolly fuck. Well, there you go. That says it all. So, talking of which, so Dan Wharton would say things differently to Mr. Fox. So what did they say that made the Ofcom people go a bit pear-shaped? Well, Laurence Fox said he wouldn't shag commentator Ava Evans. Let's have a look at her. No comment. Right. Now, Ofcom said that broke broadcasting rules. What if he said he would shag her a couple of times on a Saturday night? No, he didn't. He said he wouldn't shag her. Now, they've just sort of made up some sort of thing that they're upset about. OK, it was a bit of a Wally thing to say, and it was a bit sexist, and maybe he thought he would get into trouble, but not that much. But Ofcom said it was clearly misogynistic. Well, it wasn't misogynistic. There was no hatred towards women. He just said he wouldn't shag her. That doesn't mean he hates her. I've shagged many women I've hated. This cost me a fortune. Don't you worry about that. Now, was that any worse at some of the horrible things that left-wing females have said on TV, right? And they faced no action at all, right? Ofcom, that's fine. It's all good. Jo Brand. Oh, God. Yeah. Jo Brand. What did she have to say? Oh, so it was OK, Jo Brand, throwing acid over Nigel Farage. She said that on the BBC. Sophie Ducker, you wouldn't want to meet her, she joked about killing white people on the BBC. Miriam Margolyes, right? She's a funny little thing, isn't she, Miriam Margolyes? Right, she said, this is on Channel 4, I think, she wanted Boris Johnson to die while he was in hospital with COVID. Well, the double standards and bias here are a fucking joke. It's ridiculous. And it's only pipped by this story. The Church of England slave repatriations. Right, the Church of England, OK, this is the Church of England. The Church of England, not Britain, Scotland, Wales, the Church of England plans to set aside, get this, 100 billion in reparations, in giving money to atone for its historical links to slavery. Where are they going to get 100 billion? That's a lot of plates to be passed around, isn't it? 100 billions worth of plates going around. Stick a couple of grand in, can you, this week? We don't want a couple of 2-bob bits and things like that. What the fuck? So, it's coming from us. We give the money to the church and they're going to give it to people. Who are they going to give it to? So the church will be giving money to people who were never slaves in the first place, paid for by people who never had slaves. What the fuck is... It's the equivalent, right, of paying child support for a kid you didn't have with a woman you didn't fuck. I mean, what is this all about? It's madness. 100 billion. What? You imagine the money... What? Look, at least you could put some heating in the churches and have some microphones and PAs installed so when you do go in there, you can hear what the words the fucking people are singing in the hymns. The churches are empty, aren't they? The mosques are full, aren't they? Mosques are full, as you can tell. They're certainly full up in Rochdale and the celebrations are going on because my old pal, George Galloway, has been sworn into Parliament this morning. Now, why I say old pal is because I've known George a number of years. I bumped into him years ago. He tells me this story. That I was coming out of a Scotland against somewhere football match and a bunch of supporters decided they were going to beat him up, and I persuaded them not to. I sort of stepped in like Superman, and he never forgot that. And me and him became sort of pen pals and mates, and I've done his show. But there is a thing about George, and this is where people forget. George is a real good politician. What he says you might not agree with, but he hangs around that goal like Gary Lineker, waiting for the ball to break loose, and then he scores. So George has been looking at all this stuff that's going on. When the Gaza situation arrived, he thought, now's my chance. He's always supported Palestine. Me and him spoke when I went to support and I think this was down to George that asked me to do this, a Palestinian hospital, a child's hospital, and I helped to raise a lot of money. That's when I come outside, and a film crew got me from Palestine or wherever and said, why are you doing this when all of show business are Jews? I said, I'm not doing it for politics. I'm doing it to save the children of Gaza and Palestine. And that's why when George and I sort of became pals. Yeah, that was old George. And he realises when the ball broke loose, if I want to get into Parliament, I've got to go somewhere and support the Palestinians where there's enough other Palestinian supporters. Where do you go? Up north. Now, the word round the campfire is, and actually, Nick Griffin from the British National Party supports him as well. What's all that about? I mean, where is it where the left and the right meet? I mean, the far left and the far right are like two cheeks of your arse, isn't it? And I won't say who's in the middle. OK, but it was Diane Abbott, one of the first people to welcome George with open arms. And I say congratulations to George. I don't quite like the idea of some of the things he talks about. Is Rochdale the place for an MP like George? Well, it is. Is he going to support the local people? I know he's going to support Palestinians and the Palestine and Gaza, etc., and he won't condemn Hamas or whoever they are. No, but will he look after the people from Rochdale? Well, he probably will, because most of them are probably Palestinians anyway. Right, I am now going over to Ustream.com, of which you can get a free 7-day trial, a free 7-day trial even. If you go to Ustream.com, sign up and see what else I have to say. But well done, George. Don't blow it. You've been trying to get in there for a long while, and try and do as much as you can for the people of Britain, as well as just looking over the border to Palestine. You're a great politician, George. Now prove everybody wrong. Cool, look at that.
Did you see the fireworks?
Right, straw, like a child.
Who the fuck is Taylor Swift?
Hey?
Bang us some euros.